Are you a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, particularly D&D 5e, but not such a big fan of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, the parent company that produces Dungeons and Dragons, especially with everything they've done over recent years? That's understandable. I'm going to introduce you to a game that I found recently that is going to scratch that 5e itch and keep my money in someone else's pockets besides Wizards and Hasbro. Come along, join with me, and learn more about Level Up Advanced 5e. 2022, Ian Publishing published Level Up Advanced 5th Edition. This is built on the OGL, and it is an answer to what to do with your 5th edition, especially as support from Wizards of the Coast wanes in favor of the upcoming not new edition, 1D&D as it's currently touted, or D&D 2024. Level Up gives you an opportunity to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and support third-party publishers and creators who still enjoy that 5th edition interface, the rule system, and everything that goes along with it. It is wholly compatible with 5th edition rules, wherein you can bring in monsters and adventures and equipment and everything else from 5th edition and 5th edition supplements into Level Up A5e. This is not just a 5th edition clone, however. They did make updates, they did make some changes, and they're the kinds of updates and changes I wanted to see in the game, especially one based off 5th edition. They were the sorts of changes that I wish I had the brain power to come up with. They had a great team of designers behind it that really put their backs into it and produced a quality product. They have put out an adventurer's guide, PHP, they have put out a narrator's guide, DMG, they have put out treasures and troves, and they continue to produce content regularly. They have a monthly magazine. They also collect those magazines in an annual format. Other companies and third-party companies have started making products to support the Level Up A5e, and it's looking great. And I've tried and pulled some stuff from the shelf there to go ahead and see, will this work inside the Level Up game system, and it will. There are some very core differences, however. Namely, let's get it right out of the way. Martial classes have combat maneuvers. They actually learn a combat discipline or multiple combat disciplines, and then they have maneuvers associated with those. For those who are around during the 3X days, think Book of Nine Swords on steroids. It's core to martial classes. So it gives a bit more versatility, a bit more customization. Yes, it adds a level of complexity. These are using an in-game resource called an exertion point, which you gain as you level up. They also still have proficiency, but they have added expertise dice, which can be D4, 6, 8, 10, or 12, depending on how many of them you can apply to a single roll. You only get one expertise die per roll, but if you get multiple instances of it, it increases on the stack. They've changed exhaustion and fatigue to where it's got more levels. It also leads over into strife, where that's kind of a mental fatigue. To take a short or long rest, you need to be in a place of safety. They have additional rules that we can remember back from earlier editions, including what's it like if you sleep in armor? How's that impact your next day's adventure? These sorts of added rules, which does go back to kind of an infinite minutia, are the sorts of things I do want to have if I'm going to play D&D 5e. I think my big problem with 5e was a lack of customization without having all these additional supplements. And it was also, it's a tactical game. It's really a war game at heart with role-playing around it. And if I'm going to play a tactical war game, I want more tactical options. Level Up delivers on those. Now, that's not to say that it goes the route of Warhammer 40k or anything like that. It's still 5e at its core. However, they have added things to it. And because it's highly customizable, those things put out by other publishers over the years for 5th edition can be brought over here. And it's a system we are familiar with, we can tweak and play around with as we so choose. Other changes they've made is instead of having race and class and background to build your character, you now have heritage, culture, background, and destiny, then your class. So heritage replaces race, you get some core abilities, but then you also get to choose from a gift at level 1, and then later on you get a paragon gift. Then you've got your culture, which gives you some basic skills, and this would be, are you from a cosmopolitan society? Are you a nomad? Those are going to give you some additional proficiencies in backgrounds and ideas. I shouldn't say backgrounds, but background on your character, not the actual background. Background is like it is in 5e and how it's coming up to be in this 1D&D. It's here's your background, here's what you were doing. You were an acolyte, you were a soldier, you were a hermit before your adventuring career. You've gained these skills, you have these abilities, you have these ties to the world and the culture around you. It is also what gives you your base stat bonuses. 1, and then 1 to choose from. So soldier, you get like +1 strength and +1 to something else. The feats game in Level Up Advanced 5e is strong. So they've got a lot of the feats that you're going to recognize. However, they also brought in synergy feats or synergistic feats. And these are kind of a way to multi-class. These synergy feats typically require that you have level 3 in 2 different classes. So I'll throw one up here as an example. This is the Blade Chanter. It is a fighter wizard, and it's a tree or 3 steps. It's hard to call it a tree because it doesn't branch at all. Where you can get this feat, and if you get that, then you can get this, then you can get that. So that's really neat. They even have one in there for Batman. If you want to play Batman, it's in there. I've also looked at some of the additional stuff from outside sources that they've done, and these give another level of customization. For me, Level Up really allows you to play into the fantasy of the character and the way you want your character to work. In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, there were a lot of things that were left up to flavor and tone. There was no mechanical difference. Level Up 5e, it's definitely there to where those choices and those pieces of flavor you want to make actually do have an impact mechanically, and they seem rewarding. They've also gone over to a bulk system for encumbrance, which is good. They have a supply system so that you've eaten and watered and everything so that you can take your long rests. There's a lot of added stuff in here that only slightly changes the game, but it's still the core game. And it is the type of things that I would want in a game where I'm playing more tactically. There's an entire series of downtime adventure rules, for crafting, for carousing, for earning a living. And their system's pretty good. I'm going to look at some other ones that are out there and see if I want to stick with theirs or use another one. This is, for me, an answer to what comes next for Dungeons & Dragons. Now, a lot of people, when 5th edition came out, they got upset at buying books. They went back and started playing 2nd ed and 1st ed. Some went and got OSR books. Some just dusted off their old copies. I did 5th edition. I like what I'm seeing out of 1D&D, but I am not ready to shell down any more money for Wizards of the Coast, especially looking at how they're handling things and where the model is going. For me, Level Up Advanced 5th edition looks great. I can't wait to get more of the books in here, get some hard copies of them. Meanwhile, I've been living off of the PDFs, and I am having a lot of fun just playing with the system, looking at the changes they've made, looking at the characters that I can make, and I'm happy to go through more with you guys here soon. So I hope to do some more videos on some of the things that are new and different, and you'll also see how so much of it is the same. If you haven't checked it out yet, and you are a 5th edition fan, but you are not a WotC fan, be sure to check out Level Up Advanced 5e from EN Publishing.